Hi, everyone. Welcome to episode 99 of the All Dolphins podcast.
Let me guess who this is.
I'm going to go with the insanely obvious one for a very specific reason. I was going to avoid Jason Taylor because it's too obvious. Obviously, he's the best player to wear that number and is a Hall of Famer.
He'd feel slighted.
Sorry?
He'd feel slighted if he was avoided.
Yeah, but it's not about the best player. And I've said that so many times, and some folks just don't want to understand it, but whatever. I want to bring him up because of something that's been, but it's really not a big deal, but it's been kind of semi-bugging me for many, many years. It's basically, I'm not a huge fan of retiring jersey numbers because it becomes arbitrary. What do you use as a criteria and all that? But if you're not going to give 99 and 54 ever again, why don't you just go ahead and retire them? Like the Dolphins. You remember the last Dolphin player to wear 54? It's Zach Thomas.
No, there was somebody who had it for like a day or two.
In the summer, and it was like, oh, what are we doing? No, switch numbers. And there's been no 99. So retire it or don't. I mean,
I'm all for it. I think it'll happen in due time. Zach is having a ceremony here. I would love to see their numbers retired together. I don't necessarily know what's going on in their level of communication. And hell, I understand. I've been through a divorce too. People got to pick sides. That's just the way that it is in a divorce. So, I don't know if their friendship is still tight, but hey, I would love to see them have their numbers. Huh?
I guess this is the part where we should mention that JT used to be married to Zach's sister, and they recently divorced.
Yes. And if you have been divorced, which you haven't, congratulations. People pick sides. They just do. They have to. They have no choice. And you can't be friends with both, or you can't be tied to both. So it is what it is. I totally understand.
Yeah. But again, with your idea of like retiring both jersey numbers, and it's like
you have to together. You have to.
That's fine. And again, but why them and not Dwight Stevenson, for example? Why them and not Larry Little, for example? That's my, well, why them and not Nick Buoniconti, for example? I mean, those are all Hall of Famers who not only that actually won Super Bowls for the Dolphins, or with the Dolphins.
Wow, you really gonna pull up the Super Bowl on them?
Again,
they carried the franchise for a decade plus.
And during that decade, they didn't go to Super Bowl once. So again, what's the criteria for retiring jersey numbers? That's my thing, and that's why I don't necessarily
their jersey number. I have a couple of bones that I will address in this moment. One, I think Cam Wake and Rashad Jones are two players who are deserving of Ring of Honor recognition in this franchise.
You mean, but let Dolphin honor roll just to be technical, but absolutely agree with you.
And that hasn't been something that I say that to people and they're like, like Rashad Jones was a hell of a player in this era and only played for the Dolphins. Cameron Wake was the top pass rusher of his era for a minute, has all kinds of ridiculous records. When you put in his CFL and NFL numbers, and CFL for the Hall of Fame, it still counts. Okay,
it's a pro football.
It's a pro football Hall of Fame. Don't turn your nose up at it. Cam Wake might be up there with Doug Flutie as the best CFL import to the NFL.
Warren Moon's up there too.
Yeah, but Warren. In fairness, Warren Moon played for the. Didn't he play for the AFL too, or the USFL?
No.
No. Oh, so he only. Okay, all right.
Then went from the Edmonton Eskimos to the Houston Oilers.
My bad. I'm thinking about some other quarterback. I'm thinking Doug Flutie, because Doug Flutie played for
USFL.
Yeah.
Jersey General.
So retirement of numbers for Jason Taylor, Zach Thomas. I think that's a must. And we're gonna end Cam Wake, Rashad Jones into the honor roll. I call it a Ring of Honor. You call it honor roll.
That's what the Dolphins call it. And the other thing about Cam Wake, there is zero debate whatsoever. He was the player of the 2010s for the Dolphins. And the other two guys who I think would even merit mention for that honor would be Rashad Jones and maybe Mike Pouncey.
I'm not going to say anything disrespectful about Mike Pouncey. I think Mike Pouncey was Was a hell of a player.
Yeah.
Was a hell of a player.
Okay. Appropriate we end that segment with Mike Pouncey, who was an offensive lineman, because we got issues on this Dolphin offensive line because it's not better. Well,
I blame you for kicking off my IBS. I do. I blame you.
It's my fault, right?
It's you planted a seed in my head, and I was just like, damn, that would actually really make sense. Yesterday on the podcast, Mr. Poupard said that it would be wise or beneficial for the Dolphins to sit Connor Williams because they don't technically need him for this game, even though that's kind of disrespectful. And they will absolutely, unequivocally, without a doubt, need him against the Philadelphia Eagles and need him at his best. That's a money game for Mr. Connor Williams. Now, when you said that, I was like, damn. That means I'm going to have to go with Liam Eichenberg at center for another week because it really, truly did make way too much sense.
Yeah. But I wasn't expecting a dude to actually be out again today with that groin injury. So now the Liam experiment is looking more and more likely for a second time.
Yes. And I do think it's more than an experiment. I think that this is going to be his future position in the NFL. Okay. Whether you like it or comfortable with it or not, I just think he does snap well. He does read and diagnose the field well. And Liam, we were talking to him today, and he made a lot of points that made a lot of sense, that contributed to a lot of his struggles. And for the first time, being able to recognize, the center has to make the calls for the whole line. And if you're wrong, you're wrong. And a lot of the times the guys were rushing him, like, what's the call? What's the call? And he's basically like, I'm trying to figure it out. Like, give me a minute. And so while I am terrified to death of the Liam Eichenberg Express. That's what I call it, the Eichenberg Express.
Okay.
Every time I talk to him, I become more sympathetic to what he's gone through, what his experience is. And in fairness to Liam, maybe I'm being way more critical than the way that I should be. But when I saw the film, I was like, disaster. This cannot happen.
Yeah.
Again.
Here's the thing, though. The point I'm going to make for Liam, if we're going to be fair and look for reasons, justifications / excuses for his, let's just say, less than perfect performance since he joined the Dolphins, as we have done for other players on this roster. The dude's bounced around from like one spot to another spot to another spot to another spot to another spot on the offensive line.
Because he's not good at any of the spots.
Maybe the coaches don't believe in him. Maybe the scheme's not good enough. Maybe he doesn't have good enough wide receivers. Maybe.
Oh, wow. You're really going there.
You finally caught on to what I was doing. Your point is fair, but is it not fair to give him maybe, I don't want to say the benefit of the doubt, but the fact that, he's been moved around.
How many benefits of the doubt are we really going to give him, though? I am fine. I've come to terms with the fact that he'll probably be out there against Carolina. I agree with you. It's the smart thing to do to get Connor right against the Philadelphia Eagles, which is the best interior defensive line that you'll face in the NFL. Like, you need your best against your best. And a 70% Connor Williams in a contract year is going to lose money, as opposed to a 90% Connor Williams helping you. That film against the Philadelphia Eagles, that's either going to make him money or lose him money. So if you think about this from a business approach and understand, for those who have ever followed me, I let you know, on an NFL team, there are 53 franchises. And if franchise Connor Williams was smart, they'd say, sit and then be your best against the Philadelphia Eagles, or play this one and then sit the Eagles game. But as a team player, I'm thinking Connor will say, I want us to be at our best for the Eagles, because everybody is going to use that as a litmus test for this team and say, oh, they're good, but they can't win the big one because they can't beat the Buffalo Bills and the Philadelphia Eagles. And who else is the big ones? Because, I don't know the schedule.
Chiefs.
The Kansas City Chiefs. And I don't know if we put the Dallas Cowboys in that category anymore. Or the Baltimore Ravens, because I think the Ravens will be up there.
Yeah, excellent point. Okay, so now we've addressed the center position. Now we have to worry about the right guard position because Robert Hunt popped up on the injury report with a knee injury listed as limited. And since it's a new name on the list on a Thursday, me thinks he got hurt in practice. Logic says he got hurt in practice.
Yeah, I saw him in the locker room after practice, and Robert was fine. He wasn't lingering in there like he usually did. We're me and him, we're continuing our Drake album discussion that we had to put on ice. We're discussing how many hits that Drake album has and where we can put it in the gallery of Drake albums. It's a 3 people discussion, by the way. Savan Ahmed is also part of this discussion. Am I concerned? Yes, I'm always concerned. But keep in mind, Robert Hunt has played 4 years in the NFL and has not had an injury that's held him out of the game. Now, he's also in a contract year. And the worst thing that you can do is suffer an injury that puts you out for the season and Nick Needham it in a contract year.
Yeah.
So that would be concerning for me, but we'll see where he is. Now let's talk about the replacements. Robert Jones is working his way back. I don't know if he's ready. So I think we're looking at a Lester Cotton situation as both the backup guard and a backup center and a backup guard. And if we lose Robert Jones, then Lester Cotton becomes the backup guard. And then one of the practice squad players, Alama Ulave.
That was very good.
Did I hit it? Did I hit it?
It's Uluave, but very, very close. I mean, we'll give it to you. Judges,
okay.
Judges accept.
I think he would get his first active game, and partly because snapping's not an issue, and he's able to do the IDing that the center's responsible for.
No, I agree with you. I just get a little bit nervous when we're talking about a knee, but obviously we'll know more. We'll know more on Friday. Alec Ingold was back at practice. That was the one bit of good news. The dude, not surprising. He was listed as limited. Again, still would expect him to play Sunday. And
yeah, saw him out, no boot. Saw him in the locker room, no boot, walking around just fine. My hope is that it's not something like turf toe that just continues to linger and linger and linger. It is a foot injury, so it's not a toe injury. But foot's really, like, what do you got a sore foot? Like, that's a little scary.
Yeah.
Hairline fracture? What are we talking about here?
We do not speculate here. And we do. Who am I kidding?
No,
and then here's the flip side, though, because I'm talking about concerns about the Dolphin offensive line.
Oh, yeah.
Carolina Panthers had 2 downgrades today. Nothing big. Only their 2 remaining good defensive players, Brian Burns and Derek Brown.
Only their 2 best players.
This was a team, actually, they began the season, they had 4 legit ballers on defense. Shaq Thompson's out for the year, got hurt like on the first Monday night. That kind of went under the radar because it was the night Aaron Rodgers, unless I'm mistaken, it was the same night that Aaron Rodgers tore his Achilles. And then J.C. Horn is out, who's a very good cornerback. And then now you go from limited to DNP from Wednesday to Thursday. Not necessarily looking promising for Brian Burns or Derek Brown to be playing against the Dolphins, which
if you're a defender, and let's be honest, let's be honest and transparent here. Okay? And I get everybody's gonna be like, oh, I'm a competitor. If you're a Dolphins, you're playing a game in South Florida where you're gonna wilt into this heat and humidity. And you're playing a track meet. You're literally playing a track meet as a football game where defenders are going to be running and running and running and running and running. And so many things are going to be thrown at you that you're like, the Dolphins are a very hard team to study for because of all the eye candy that they incorporate. Do you really want to play this one? Or do you want to get right?
Yeah, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, isn't Brian Burns I know Brian Burns played at Florida State, isn't he from South Florida?
Okay.
I think that plays a role in it. Derek Brown, yeah, I don't know the dude. I'd like to think that guys want to ball out and would want that challenge of like, yeah, we'll take care of
You want to ball out against a Giants depleted offensive line.
If you're a true competitor, you want to ball out against the best.
Man, especially Brian Burns in a money year, bro. Do you really want to put that on film?
What, getting to 2-0 once or twice is be a lot more lucrative than getting to Daniel Jones around the left tackle who's got no business being in the NFL. No offense. Okay. I was rude of my
sacks or sacks. They all count the same.
That's a very good point. Speaking of which, speaking of sacks, I wrote about Christian Wilkins today on alldolphins.com for free. Where our good friend Chris Perkins did some math work here, extrapolated that Christian Wilkins at 1.5 sacks right now through 5 games. That projects to 5 sacks over 17 games, which would actually represent a career high. I went a little deeper because that's not necessarily.
I'm sorry for laughing. I apologize.
Well, that's not necessarily significant, but if you look at the QB pressures, he's on pace for 30. And I looked at the stats last year around the league. You get 30 quarterback pressures. You're talking big money defensive tackles. In fact, that's a number that does as good as anybody in the league last year or thereabout, other than Chris Jones, who was completely in another stratosphere. So the moral of the story is that Wilkins, statistically speaking, at least through 5 games, is getting the job done in terms of being a little bit more impactful when it comes to the pass rush. Now, having said, the caveat is he's done a lot of his best work against in the 70-point, 50-point blowout against Denver, and then last Sunday against that Giants paper mache offensive line. As you give me that look of what are you talking about?
Okay.
Have you not felt him more in the pass rush game so far this season than you did last year?
I don't really talk about Christian Wilkins.
Oh, wow. First rule about Christian Wilkins is you don't talk about Christian. Okay, you tell the folks to go read my story then, and we'll leave it.
Oh yeah, the whole D line as a whole has not played up to my level of expectations. And if we were going to name off people who has reached or approached my level of expectations, it would start with Andrew Van Ginkel, who's your best pass rusher, and then Zach Sealer, who's your best interior player, and then maybe we get to Christian. But overall,
go read the story. But I'm going to make the argument he's actually coming on, and he had a big game last week. But
oh yeah. What I found interesting was Vic Fangio, who pulls no punches and respect it.
Love it.
Saying that, hey, he got off to a slow start because of his little vacation that he took. He didn't use those exact words.
It wasn't. He didn't use hold. He certainly didn't use Holden.
I'm
gonna look at it.
Yeah, and it kind of put him a little bit behind. He wasn't where he left off when he came back, and obviously, I don't fault Christian for 1 second, not a millisecond, because when you are holding the hammer, you better swing it, because the NFL is not shy about swinging the hammer when they're holding it. So you need to push for your money. Now, I believe that Christian will get his money somewhere. Do I know if it's going to be Miami? Do I know if it's going to be, they're going to have to haggle it, franchise tag? I don't know. But I know Christian will be fine. He's not going to be on the will work for food line of the NFL. He will be fine.
We'll be holding up a sign.
Yeah. But what I will say is there's certain members of that defensive line that have not played up to my expectation. And there's a long list of them. Christian is on the list.
Dude, they have 5 defensive linemen. How long can the list be?
You got a $110 million player.
Oh, no, those are edge.
No, I count them all. They're all on the front line. It's only two. It's only, come on.
So D lineman and edge. Okay. So now
Yeah, I'm talking about the people who are supposed to pressure the quarterback.
okay.
That's
So
their job.
Bradley Chubb. You don't want to identify him?
No, I can say Bradley Chubb, Emmanuel Ogbah, $16 million player. You know, Jalen Phillips, and I know he's hurt and he's battling some injury, but are we seeing this breakout season that we wanted to see yet? No, it hasn't started yet. And Raekwon Davis, who I expect a lot more from Raekwon Davis, but he looks more like a basketball player than he looks like a football player these days. And props to him, because I'm damn sure jealous of his workout regimen, his body. Like he's getting long, he's long and he's lean. However, I don't know if that benefits him as a nose tackle. Now, if he's evolving into a different type of defensive tackle, okay, cool. But you kind of need a nose tackle on this team. So, and I would argue too, even though they rarely ever play in their base defense, as Vic Fangio calls it,
correct.
I would argue to you, if I'm playing the Dolphins, I'm running at this D line, running.
I agree. Well, for somebody who didn't want to talk about Christian Wilkins, you should talk about it.
Did I name that individual?
Yes, you did, Christian. Yes, you said Christian Wilkins. By the way, the term that Fangio used was layoff. During his layoff.
His layover?
In the comment section, I think yesterday or the day before, we were encouraged, prodded, asked to ask Vic Fangio about Cam Smith. So I took it upon myself, tried to find a different way to ask other than what does Cam Smith have to do to get in the lineup. So I went with the old, is he knocking on the door for getting snaps on defense? And Fangio very quickly said he's knocking on the door. And then I followed up with, okay, what's he have to do for that door to get open? It's keep knocking on the door.
Keep knocking.
Keep knocking. Pretty much.
Keep knocking. Eventually I'll let you in.
And then Sam Madison also was asked about Cam Smith. His comments were actually very interesting. Talking about the small details, like showing up to the facility early, leaving the facility late, being to meetings on time, doing the little things and all that. And then pointed to his own experience as a former second round pick in 1997, where he did not start until week 13.
Yep.
And I double checked it because props to Sam, by the way. Coaches and players who often cite facts like that, going back to their playing career and all that, very, very, very often are mistaken. And you wind up typing it as a fact that what the guy said and turns out to be wrong. So I double check. I always double check him. I double check Sam. Week 13, exactly 1997 was his first NFL start. So.
And it probably defined who he is. And I could tell you, I'm a big Sam Madison fan. I was as a player and I will be as a coach. And no matter what Sam does, I'm going to be a big fan. They are making him earn it and making him learn how to be a professional. And you're not guaranteed to come out and be thrown out there and have success as a rookie. And you better make sure you have the work ethic, you have the commitment, you have the resolve, and you fought for it. And so I fully support what's going on with Cam Smith. Do I think he can help you? Absolutely. But he's going out there and he's busting his tail on special teams and he's earning that playing time. And I like that. I also learned today that Nick Needham is working at safety and he's being utilized as a safety. And that's so those who think that Nick Needham is going to come in here, put on a cape and be superstar.
That was you, my man. Because you pumped up his return for a long time. Sorry, go ahead.
I mean,
yes, you did. Yes, you did.
Damn, you gonna call me out like that?
Oh, I'm absolutely gonna call you out like that. Yes.
I like superstar. I believe in superstar. I think he is going to help you defensively, but I think this team has their sights and eyes and hearts set on Jalen Ramsey returning. And when he returns, what's he going to do and what defense we're going to run and how we're going to play and what's our identity going to be. And it sounds to me like the Ramsey return is going to be more of mid-November and then 3 weeks of practice to get a good run for December for that, so that he could be ready for that January playoff run.
Yeah, that's what it smells like. One point I want to make about Cam Smith is the last thing the Dolphins want to do is throw the kid out there before he's completely ready, have him get roasted a couple of times, and then there goes the confidence. And then for certain guys, that thing goes and you don't get it back. And by all accounts, scouting report from South Carolina, Cam Smith's a cocky guy, not lacking in confidence, but you get toasted a couple of times, that can work over anybody. So that's
Yeah.
the concern with him too.
I can promise you, Noah was a confident kid before he came to the NFL as well. Noah was a real confident kid, and and I was having that conversation today about, cornerbacks. You got to have a short memory. Like, you really do, because as we've talked about on this podcast, that position is meant for you to get roasted, flamed, destroyed every single week, because you're not making the NFL money by winning. The NFL is making money by roasting you.
Very good point.
So you gotta go out there and you gotta be able to wipe that slate clean and keep it moving and move on to the next play. The worst cornerbacks are the guys who don't have the short memory and who harp on things and let things get personal and and props to Cater, because he had the opportunity to redeem himself and rebound last week, and he did. And he'll continue to do so. But there are other Stephon Diggs out there in the league, and he'll be facing one in 2 weeks.
Yeah, whoever he winds up match up with. Something else like Fangio said kind of struck me. Safety position opposite Javon Holland. Those who want to see either a rotation or want to see Brandon Jones in the lineup, not happening. It's the Deshaun Elliott spot.
For now. I'm not sure Brandon Jones is going to get it back, but yes.
Said you do or you don't?
I'm not sure. No.
No, I don't think so. And again, when they signed Deshaun Elliott, guy's a starter. He was a starter for the past 3 years. This idea again that Brandon Jones was the incumbent, so he was going to get it back. It's his job at some point. To me, it was always like, oh, okay, let's see. What else did Fangio say that stood out?
I think we need to move on to the offensive coaches, because Fangio said more consistency from Raekwon Davis, more consistency from David Long. He's Van Ginkel, still considering him as an inside linebacker when Jalen Phillips comes back from his injury. Van Ginkel could potentially be playing both positions, inside linebacker and outside linebacker. I don't know how you take him off the field, so they're going to have to figure that out. Who else did he mention?
Interesting about Van Ginkel real quickly, though, is that Fangio said initially he looked at him, figured maybe there's something there that could make him a good inside linebacker. Had one of his assistants cut up some plays where he thought maybe the skills would translate to inside linebacker, looked at those plays and he was like, yeah, no, nothing there. But yet he said he still had a gut feeling all the time, and eventually went with his gut feeling. Let's go ahead, let's try him out, and boom, it's worked.
No, as an inside linebacker, I don't know if he's shown it's worked he works in the scheme. We haven't seen if he works as an inside linebacker.
He was making plays. He's not only made plays on the edge, he's made plays when he's been inside linebacker as well.
We shall see. And I'm a Van Ginkel fan. So this isn't now I'm a get Van Ginkel.
Welcome.
Fan.
Yeah, I was gonna say welcome to the club.
Yeah. You've been a Van Ginkel fan. I am a growing Van Ginkel fan.
You've learned his name. You've learned his name.
What do you mean? I've always known Andrew Van Ginkel.
I'm playing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Smith, what stood out from what he said?
Huh?
What stood out to you from what Frank Smith had to say?
Really, it's about the Chase Claypool. Oh, you missed it. Tyreek, in one of a Tyreek moment, said he's a vending machine. He moves like a vending machine out there. In terms of he looks like a vending machine out there, but he acknowledges he's fast. But he's big. He's a big boy.
Yeah.
I looked at him because I've seen vending machines. I've seen the Ernest Wolfords. I've seen the.
I only talk on Thursdays, Ernest Wolford. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I've seen the There, remember Roberto Wallace, the Brandon Marshall. I've seen the big
Or the
receivers.
Wallace.
Yeah, Claypool moves. He's not. I've looked. I've paid attention. He doesn't move like a tight end. He doesn't move slow. And I know what the Dolphins are doing, trying to incorporate him and trying to give him small doses of things that he can learn. And I'm not gonna reveal that because it's privileged stuff that we see at practice. But I'm like, oh, okay, that makes sense. And so I could see the vision. I just don't think it's gonna be immediate, but I could absolutely see the vision.
You'll get the Donde Está el Baño package early on, just to get him some snaps.
Yeah, I said to Vic, yeah, because that's the way I get it too. When Mike McDaniel said, basically, you gotta learn how to speak Spanish. Like it's, you gotta fluently be able to go to Spain and function in speaking Spanish. And I get that. And when you deal with so many young players and they're like, yeah, no habla español. Like, you really do understand. Like, yeah, this is a real, and Mike said it yesterday. He's like, yeah, I've been in this offense for 17 years. It comes easy to me, but that doesn't necessarily mean it's going to come easy to everybody else. So you just got to give them small doses of things that they can understand and digest. Yeah. And I think that's what they're doing with Claypool. Yesterday, I was like, I'm absolutely certain he's going to be active. Today, I'm like, no, I don't know if he's going to be active. We shall see.
Yeah, maybe put it at 50-50. Because here's the thing, I'm of the opinion that he's active and Robbie Chosen sits. And perhaps, just perhaps, Dolphins.
So Robbie Chosen sits against his former team.
Think
about Mike McDaniel. Think about who Mike McDaniel is, though.
But you didn't let me finish my point. Okay. That I think I might wait a week because the Dolphins are playing the Carolina Panthers, Robbie Chosen's former team. So that's why maybe I'm thinking maybe they would hold off 1 week, let Robbie Chosen do his thing against the Panthers, and then.
Yeah, I think it's very clear that they want Chase Claypool to earn his stripes. Tyreek said he offered to wash his car, which I think is a Tyreek exaggeration of the truth.
No, Tyreek never do that.
Tyreek does have some dope shirts, though. I ain't even gonna lie to you. Some really dope Dolphin shirts. He wore one Tua shirt to the game, and he's got another shirt on it, which Tua is the center of it. I used the video. I have the video. I'll probably put it out there. And I panned down at the shirt because it's hot. It's fire. But more importantly, Tyreek rejects the Legion of Zoom.
No, Legion of
Room. He rejects Legion of Zoom and Legion of Room. He rejects it. He does not want, why does it have to be Legion? He does not want whatever they're called to be associated with the name Legion. So he tells the people, go back to the drawing board, work harder, come back with a name that I approve. And truthfully speaking, I think there are only two people who can approve the nickname. That's Mike McDaniel, who probably won't, and Tyreek Hill, who probably will. They got to be on board with it.
No, that's fair. That's fair. That's a very good point. Yeah, I was gonna say maybe A-Chan also maybe should need to approve, but no, he's a
rookie. He gets no naming rights.
Yeah, he's a rookie.
Miami Grand Prix. I don't, but that's probably something that's
trademark. Yeah,
trademark.
Name of a race. No, can't. Yeah, that's above my pay grade. I'll let you guys in the comments by all means.
But Tyreek rejects it, and we must. If the fastest guy on the fastest team in the NFL history rejects the name, it shall be rejected.
And he knows about speed. He's the speed meister. So
he thinks you can do better, flat out.
That's the sign of respect right there.
Yeah. And listen, I actually find Tyreek entertaining.
Oh, he is. Yeah, absolutely. As long as you got to make sure, though, take everything he says with a grain of salt.
And he says he's gonna stop this whole socks battle with the NFL. He's gonna wear the Red Sox.
Yeah, he's not winning the battle. I mean, it's
Yeah, he said the
basically-
fines keep escalating.
correct. It's basically saying, I'm tired of paying the fine, because the NFL not going to be like, you know what, Tyreek? Yeah, we've rethought it, and go ahead. Wrapping things up here, one loose end to tie up from Danny Crossman, the player who sprinted off the field on that 4-punt play where the Dolphins initially were flagged for too many men on the field, was Chase Winovich. But he was the 11th guy, and he talked about a quote unquote mental hiccup where he basically ran off the field and he wasn't supposed to run off the field. We're going to wrap it up here. Game to watch on. It's an absolute dog game on Thursday Night Football, but it should be a major interest to Dolphin fans if we start looking down the road at potential seeding, because those Chiefs are not going anywhere. Odds that the Denver Broncos can actually show up and play a decent game, probably not good, but hey, if a major upset were to happen in that game, that would be absolutely fantastic for the Dolphins. And I think that's going to wrap it up. We thank you as always for watching. We are on the Fans First Sports Network under Miami Dolphins Insider. Obviously, you got us here on YouTube, where we encourage you to like, subscribe, download, whatever things you do on YouTube. And of course, our written content on alldolphins.com. As always, Omar, any final words?
No, see you tomorrow.
Can't say any better than that. Thanks, everyone.